My name is Chidi Okiriki. People call me Chydee. That's what I'm known as on social media. I work in brand communications and marketing. I've done this for about 8 years now. I have a background in engineering, as a matter of fact. But I mean, you know how Nigeria is set up. You start out wanting to do one particular thing, and then you find yourself on another path. Found myself doing brand comms and I mean from digital marketing to more robust brand communications and marketing. I found it through um, life as an influencer, basically. I mean, I started off being like kind of like a micro influencer on Twitter. I used to make a lot of jokes back in the day, and people would laugh. And then one time, somebody reached out to me and said, "Can I advertise my product through your platform?" And it was like free money, and that's how I basically found myself in the world of marketing and communication. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Okay, so I grew up in a place where we had this culture of wording. I don't know if you've ever heard the term wording. Basically, people just banter, make jokes, your mama de Chris, you know, I slap you. See your round belly like Volvo tire. Different things like that. So we used to make jokes like that. So we grew up being funny. Let's just put it that way. We grew up bantering. We grew up with very thick skin. They make jokes at you, they laugh at you. You make jokes at them, you laugh at them. So growing up, I kind of like had that banter mentality, that funny mentality, and then I used to write as well. So imagine having that ability to express yourself in a funny way, and then knowing how to write as well. Put them together. From Facebook, when Facebook launched, I was kind of like popular there as well, even though I don't really visit the platform anymore on a personal level. And then we moved to Twitter, and then when Twitter was still growing, when it was still we used to do follow back Friday, all that back in the 2011, 2010, 2012. So yeah, we used to like this community of guys who used to just banter, make jokes. People used to laugh a lot. Sometimes you say some deep stuff, all that, and then we just grew, and then we found ourselves in positions where we're able to influence people to take certain actions, and that's really just it. So I there was this idea, how when you're very smart and then you have this whole not necessarily artistic side, this scientific type side to you. They're like pushing you towards stuff. Now, I'm not going to say anybody's responsible for this. I chose this path myself. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to make aeroplanes. Yeah, I even had this nickname then, aeronautical engineer Chydee. Okay, and that was my name for a while. Echo. That's how I used to pronounce it. Now you know how there's no aeronautical engineering school as at then. There was none in Nigeria. The closest thing was mechanical engineering, which is why I decided to do mechanical engineering. But I spent 4 years trying to get into school. I was failing JAMB, I was failing post UME. In fact, the year I passed JAMB was the year they introduced post UME. It was like Satan was like guy, you're not going anywhere, you know. So when I finally got into school to do engineering, I'd already lost all that zeal, all that young energy and everything. I was older than a lot of my classmates and everything. So I sucked at it. The summary is I sucked at the course. From this kid who used to be like first in class and everything, I was like the guy who was struggling to pass exams, who was struggling to complete assignments and stuff. So I knew in my 300 level I didn't want to practice. But then I somehow found my way in NLNG Bonny, right? Where I went to do my IT, and it's like exposed me to a new type of life. I saw success. I saw successful people. I saw people I wanted to be like. But I knew I had to have like a certain degree in order to be like these people. And there was no way unless I had all A's in my final year, there was no way I was going to come out to the 2-1 and all that. So my practicing engineering, that is where it ended. The 6 months I did, I did proper engineering there. Like I actually did engineering there to the extent that they told me that if I made it 2-1, like it was automatic employment. They had a policy then, 2-1 or nothing. If not, I probably would have gotten in because of how admired I was in the department and the entire engineering team and all that. So that's the only time I did practice engineering. When I was 7, I was trying to, apply for jobs for rejection email and I full my inbox.
So you left school, you started, that was around the time, that's usually around the time you started influencing on Twitter. So
So before I left school, I think it was at about when I was in final year. That's when I started becoming a bit popular. You know, you have back then. You know how if you're an oldie on Twitter, you know how you're on top of the world if you have up to 1K followers. Then, right? As at 2012, I had like 1K followers, more than 1K followers. As at 2013, when I was done with school and I was going to camp, I had up to like 5K, 6K followers. So I was already quite popular at that time. Um, so I was already doing some sort of influencing. As a matter of fact, like I said, I'm in this part today because of the influencer thing, right? Somebody saw what I wrote and decided, you know what, I want to work with this guy and invited me to Lagos. So while I was getting loads of rejection emails from engineering companies, somebody was reaching out to me and saying, come over to Lagos and, let's see if we can work together and stuff. So okay, so like I said, yeah, tons of rejection emails, tons of no's. I actually did an interview one time. These online interviews and all that. Somebody set it up for me, and I flunked it. Now it's a psychometric test. It's not like flunking it does not mean you're not good or anything. It's just you do not fit what you're looking for. They had like a particular way they wanted the questions answered. So the person who set it up for me called them and said, give him this test again. So since I knew I failed the first time, I just basically answered in the opposite, right? When they ask you some sort of questions, you answer what they want to, you give them what they want to hear. And then I passed, and then they invited me for an interview. The offer was poor, but I would have taken it until I got um, until this man reached out to me and was like, he saw something I wrote and was like, do you wanna? He even thought I was a blogger then. Do you want to blog for 50K per month, or do you want to fly private jets? That's what he said, and I was like, bruh, I want to fly private jets. What do I need to do? So he asked me to come to Lagos. So as soon as NYSC was done with NYSC, I went to put. I mean, I grew up in Lagos, right? But then it's like as I was moving to school, my entire family too was moving to the east as well. So it's like everybody had moved. Nobody was in Lagos anymore. So coming back to Lagos was just me coming back on my own. So he said I should come to Lagos and see if we can work together. And I was like, okay, cool, come, give me a date. Gave me a date range, and then he ghosted. Now, I mean, in retrospect, he didn't ghost. He was dealing with certain things. But then the date had come and he wasn't responding to my DMs or anything. I entered my bus, carried my small bag. I call it my polythene bag, and I came all the way to Lagos. And I kept, messaging to see if, because I'm here already. I mean, I've spent all this money. Time is going, right? This was about the months after NYSC. I know how it is. After NYSC, there's this pressure for you to, get a job and stuff. So eventually, just let's say I was planning, if this guy doesn't respond to me in 2 days, I'd leave. He sent a message and was like, sorry, he's been away from the country there, but he's back now, and if I'm available, I can come the next day. Bruh, who's not available? I didn't even bother taking care of going like, you're going for a proper interview or stuff. I was the Chydee who was popular on Twitter, and this guy literally asked me to come all the way. So I went there with no knowledge of what they do there. I didn't understand what the company was about. I didn't understand what digital marketing was. To be honest, I've seen brands post. I used to see brands post online. I had no idea. Like it was a team. I thought it was, let's see, Pepsi, for example, they just hire somebody to manage social media for them. I didn't know there was like a lot of work in the background to create all that graphic. I don't know what I was thinking, Sha. Anyways, we go there and then we have the interview. And me, I know that myself, if I had interviewed myself, I would have failed myself like 3/10. You know how some kid just, walks into a room and he has no clue what is there. He has no clue what to call. I just knew that it was the digital marketing company. So what's digital marketing? Marketing on digital. My answers were basic, all that. So he wasn't convinced. So he called the COO, who's my guy now. Called the COO, and the COO interviews me as well. And he's still not convinced as well. So he gives me like a test and says I should, just do what they asked me to do. Now, as I was going home, I knew I had flunked this interview. I knew I had disappointed myself and everything. So I shall wrote about the experience. As I was going home, like I was on my phone and I was in a bus from Obalinde to Oshodi. I was typing and typing the entire story and everything. And then when I got home, The next day, I published a story. Now it was fiction, yeah. It was 80% fiction, 20% true. I used elements of the interview, elements of the conversations we had, and I wove it into the story and everything. And I published. And the guy saw it. And I was like, you know what? I wasn't convinced about the interview, but we're going to fix you. We're going to find a way to fix you. So you have to, like, we have to actually work. So you have to come back again. So the next day, I went back. That's 2 days after the first interview. I went back and he offered me a job. Right? He offered me a job, and yeah, that's how I, because they did not know where to place me. I was basically learning from everybody. Art team, campaign management, account management, client service, content creation, and in about strategy, and in about 2 months I was already head of the content team, basically. So that's how I got into this space. So I think the first thing, the most significant thing challenge I faced was burnout. You know how content doesn't sleep. We're in this space where if you're a banker, if you go to the bank and then you close your laptop at the bank and you go home, you're done for the day. You can do any other, you can watch Netflix till tomorrow and then go back the next day. I mean, some people take their work home, no doubt about that. If you're a doctor, after you've treated your patients and everything, shout out to them, by the way, you go home and then, but as a content creator, you're here, you're creating content, right? You're sitting down, you're driving. As you're driving down, something is ringing in your head. I could do something with this particular place, right? As a photographer, you see the sun. The sun is a particular shape. You've whipped out your camera. So as content creators, as creatives, our brain is always working. Now imagine all these things I just mentioned. There are things that you probably do not have pressure to do. Yeah. Imagine you now have pressure to actually create content. There are targets for you. Every day you must churn out XXX number of stuff. You must do this, you must do that. And so the burnout was the first major challenge I faced. I wasn't sleeping as much. I was just always tired. Till today, I'm almost always tired. I mean, you see how hard it was for me to get off my laptop here. It's crazy. So that's like the biggest challenge I've faced. As I think I once lost money for the company. I I ran a campaign and the campaign went, like, I was supposed to be on top of the campaign and manage it, but then the campaign went south and the client was very, very displeased. So we had to, all the money they were supposed to pay, we had to, forfeit that money, because even though they probably won't have minded paying, but my boss then used to have this principle: if you mess up your job, don't pay us for it, right? And that's like a principle I've taken with all my clients. If I mess up a job, I'm like, you know what? I'll pay for the next one, or take a discount or something. I just make sure that it impacts your pocket somehow. Yeah. That's the point when somebody reached out and said, um, promote our stuff for, how much was it again? For like a month, for 20K, right? Let me tell you the truth. I was using one horrible phone then that used to give me a lot of problems. This was before I went for NYSC. This was that period between graduation and NYSC. I was using this very horrible phone that used to, it was even my in-law that gave it to me. Yeah, it was a very challenging phone. Like, if I'm on for 30 minutes, it's off for like an hour. And then when it came on one time, I saw the message like, let's do this. And then he offered me the cash, like 20K. I'm like, send the money, send it a month, Abi, send the money. So he sent the money, and I immediately went to, I was in Port Harcourt then, yeah. I immediately went to Garrison. That's where they sell phones. I went to Garrison immediately and I bought the phone I took to camp. So that was the point where I knew there's actually some. Again, I'm this person I'm a loner, yeah. This is not a good trait. I'm not proud of it. I'm a loner. So I didn't really ask, I didn't really communicate to other people around me, people who were also, at my level at the influencing space. I didn't really talk to them to know if they were making money or not. At that time, I did not even know it was possible to make money, right? So it was like a shocker to me that I could actually be paid for this, and that was where the journey started. Yeah, that was when, from then, another company called. In fact, when I moved to Lagos, as a salary earner, who's dependent on salary and everything, somebody reached out one time. I was like, "We're going to pay you 200K." for a couple posts. 200K, bro. If they had asked me what I was going to charge, I'd have said 50K. And the 50K I would have been expecting them to negotiate. And they offered me 200K straight up. And that was when I knew that, I wasn't even depending on my salary anymore. Like, the salary was just entering. And if there was like a 1 day delay, our CEO then would send messages and, sorry, we're supposed to pay 27 or 28, but to apologize, something is wrong with our system, so I have to pay on the 30th. I didn't used to feel it. I didn't used to notice because I was already, good with money and stuff. So yeah, that really put a lot of very loose change in my pocket. So I was surviving more than surviving. So after I worked for the first company, Anacle, the digital agency, after I worked there for 2 years, I left to join a tech company to head their communications team. I mean, it started with heading the digital marketing team, and then I moved on to the entire communications team and everything. Um, After that, I was like, you know what, maybe I should do this agency thing. Yeah, let me start something where I'm, basically doing what I was doing, but then at an agency scale, hire other people and create opportunities for other people as well. And that is when I thought, what do I want to do in this space? Really, what I want to do is disrupt. As at that time, myself and one of my guys were responsible for maybe like 30%. He was responsible because he was okay. He used to run trends. Yeah, he used to do trends. He was responsible for maybe like 50% of the sponsored trends you'd see in Nigeria, and I was responsible for giving him like 30% of that. So I was already doing a lot of that already. So so I decided, you know what, let me just branch out and do this thing on my own. So I quit my job then. I was already doing something for one client. Yeah, I had just one client, and I quit my job. Guess the funny thing? The next month, the client dropped us. Client dropped us, so we're basically just clientless. And I think that is what has that experience, that period where I was just doing projects on the side. You know how you have a client, so whatever happens, there's money coming in at the end of every month. And then you don't have that. You're just doing projects. Somebody will call you, can you help us do this? Can you help us do that? It's not steady money, right? It's not steady money. It's not money you can plan with. It's not money you can depend on like that. But I learned how to, work around that. You save when there's plenty of money, and then you hope for the next best thing. So yeah, the plan with disruption was to disrupt the digital space. So the THIS is just the I've forgotten what they call that thing. It's supposed to be DIS, so we just change it to THIS. And that's basically what we do. Try to disrupt the digital space with creative experiences. Hmm. At what point did that happen? Hmm. I think it was when I made my first 1 million naira. I remember clearly. I remember clearly the moment that money hits my account. That's the first time that kind of money was hitting my account. And that was the first. You know how somebody could pay money into your account, it's not yours, right? This was the first time my account was seeing that kind of money, and it was all mine, right? I was in a bus going to the office, Obalinde, basically. As I was dropping, like as I was drop, that's when the alert came in. Now instead of going straight to the office, I went to that under bridge. I remember clearly. I went to that under bridge and see the food I bought. I just sat down and I was like, Chydee, you're a millionaire. And I mean, we know that 1 million naira is not what it is now is not what it's no longer what it was then, but it was pretty significant for me because if you have the kind of background that I have, somebody who was, this is not a sub story, this is not a grass to grace story or anything, but if you had the kind of background that I have, who grew up pretty poor, right? That was the moment I knew that, man, you can never go back. This money that has hit your account, so your money will not be less than. So that even that food, I managed that money. It never went below 1 million. See, since from that time, this is 2014 ish, 2014 ish, yeah. From that time till now, I've not had below 1 million naira in my account. That is no matter how it's holding me on my neck, I make sure that I have at least 1 million naira in one of my accounts. And that's never changed. It's never changed. So, amen. Okay, so I'm actually not an I don't consider myself an influencer anymore, because okay, now I'm the guy who recommends influence. I manage influencers for brands as part of what I do in brand comms and marketing, and I usually don't recommend myself because I know that there's a bit more depth to what influencers do than what I am able to do now, right? So I don't consider myself an influencer anymore. I'm just somebody who has a lot of followers. So on that angle, nothing for the next few years. I'm just my timeline is. I mean, brands reach out every now and then, and they're like, do something for us, and sometimes I oblige them if it's something that impacts the community. My principle is always no politics. I don't touch politics. I don't touch religion, politics, those very sensitive things. And then if the campaign is something that will impact my timeline, my audience is going to benefit from it, even if at some point the audience is going to get 1K, 5K, 10K, or the campaign is incentivized basically. Yeah, I take it, and the money is good, of course. I take it. Well, um, what I'm focused more on is building a brand that just does amazing work, right? We just try to do campaigns. I mean, there's a campaign that we just wrapped yesterday, and it was pretty decent. I'm not going to mention it, but you probably saw it. If you're on Twitter, you definitely saw it. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. We learned a few things from it. So while I'm not very loud, I mean, you guys did not know it was disruption, right? It's because you're here that you know there is disruption. DTC or Devon Trek Up was more like the public one. But what we try to do is, as much as possible, disrupt the digital space, create content that people find amazing, right? You definitely know something I'm doing. You definitely know an account we're currently managing, and that's even though I try to be in the background. We try to be in the background because there's some kind of publicity you don't want. You know how Twitter can be sometimes. People, the impact of our work is felt, and that's just what keeps them going. Okay, so first of all, I don't think I like money enough, and here's why. If I've had opportunities to double my net worth, make way more money than I'm currently making. So it's either for ethical reasons, it's either for moral reasons. I'm not even talking about illegal reasons. No, I've not even had, for some reason, those ones have not gotten to me yet. But um, um, I'd probably have made so much more money if I did not have like a moral compass or an ethical compass. I don't even know if that's correct. So, yeah, I probably would have made more money. So I don't think I have this love for money. Money is good. I don't ever want to be poor, which is why I barely sleep here. I don't ever want to be poor. I'd like having. I have this principle where I say it is better to have and not need than to need and not have. So I just like the idea of there's enough money for me to take care of myself, take care of my family. I mean, I'm taking care of like a family, like a full family. And then you have friends, you have people you're supporting and all that. Yeah. So I have to have money. I just have to have money. So I just have to make money. So I just have to keep working. Um, so all these trying to find ways to increase your current net worth and everything. I've never really, you know how some people are very big on investment, all that. I've not been lucky. I'll just say I've not been very lucky in things like that. Um, so I don't have like a robust relationship like that with trying to grow your money. I just work hard to make more money. But the one that I have, how to grow it, not exactly. Um, so which is one of the reasons why I think when Rise started, and I spoke to um, AK about it, and it was like, oh, okay, so is that because we talked even before you started Rise? Yeah, we talked about the US housing thing. Yeah, I've forgotten what that was called. Where he'd invest in properties, cash estate. Yes, invest in properties, and I was going to do that with him. But then that was when he pivoted to rice, and I was like, yeah, okay, my guy is doing this. Dollars, everybody's saying saving dollars, saving dollars. I want to save in dollars, but now you're not just saving in dollars; your money is also rising. So I was like, you know what, sign me up to this thing, and as in I put my money inside, and I've not looked back since then. This one pass black tax. So. I think black tax is, this is my definition of black tax is all those small small things that you're, is it obligated? Well, you're obligated to do it, but if you don't do it, nobody will die or anything. People will die if I don't. So it's more than black tax. It's deep. It's like I'm working for people. There was a month where I actually kept track, and I was like, let me even see how much of my money I'm going to spend for myself. And I have a full-time job aside what I do, aside disruption. I also have a full-time job, right? I'm not going to tell you what the brand is because it would cost some things. And as soon as the salary came in, I was making payments, making payments, making payments. And in like an hour, it was done. I did not, 1 naira out of all that money, 7 figures, 1 naira did not enter my pocket. Or rather, 1 naira did not go into anything for myself. So the next month, I was like, I'm going to make sure that even if I'm splurging, even if I'm buying nonsense, I'm going to make sure that I buy at least 30% of this money. I'm going to spend it on myself. So basically, it's, I don't feel bad about it. Again, I did not, I can't say I got to this point on my own, right? I mean, I know I did a lot of grunt work. I did a lot of things on my own, but again, you have family, you have people who supported you along the way. So there's no way I'm going to, have been able to amass all I've amassed and not share as much as possible. So yeah, um, it's not black tax, it's family. I mean, the stock market is down now.
Do you just have a stock plan?
Yeah, I do.
You don't have a
No,
real
no,
estate
no.
plan?
So the real, hmm, okay, the real estate plan was not growing as much as I wanted it to grow, right? And I don't like locking. Say I like liquidity. I like being able to pull out my stuff anytime I want, right? And the real estate plan is more long-term investment-ish, right? If I'm not mistaken.
But there's like
Has it changed?
6 months.
Yeah. So even for 1 month, I don't want to be unable to remove my money.
Okay.
Again, like I said, this is like there are people who've been doing, what's that thing called, fixed, not fixed deposit? Is it fixed deposit? The one they do with the government. Is it fixed deposit? Bond. So those ones that you get at the end of every year, you get maybe like 10%. All that. I've not done it. Treasury bills. I have not done it. I can do it. I can lock up 10 million naira then forget about it for 2 years. But I will not do it because I want, if something happens, I want to be able to pull my money, right? So which is why I did not do those other ones. Now, that's probably a mistake on my part, to be honest. I should have just I should have just done half and half or something. Um, when we all started Rise Farm, the way the thing grew, let's say I put in, I'm not exactly sure what the figures are, but maybe I put in, say, let's say I put in, say, $6,000 then, or $7,000. I think it grew to 10K at some point. That is when the confidence level grew. So I was, there was one time I was cash light and I needed cash to do some very important stuff and I withdrew. But then after that period, I did again, and that is this period where we've had losses because of how badly the general stock market is doing. But I know that people who are on the real estate plan are, yeah, they're doing it. A few people I know. Hmm. I think investing is very important, right? Investing is very important. That is the fastest way to, or rather, that's the easiest. This is in quotes, easiest way to get passive income, right? It's like you have this loose cash you're not going to use for the next 1 year. Instead of leaving it in the bank where it depreciates, where what's this thing called? Inflation reduces the value and everything. Put it in something, right? Put it in something and enjoy yourself. Oh, I made money from Rise a few weeks ago. You know how you guys send a notification? I don't know if I should be saying this. You know how you guys send a notification?
Yeah.
Invest before the price
Share is
rises.
about to go.
Share money is about to go up. So it happened. And it's happened a few times and then it goes up. So I was like, you know what? It was at 650 or thereabouts to a naira, to a dollar, right? And I saw the message, invest is about to go up, bruh. And I knew in the market it was like 700 naira. I was like, wait, oh, this is like 50 naira, 50 naira per dollar. And I was like, how much do I even have? How much loose cash do I have? So I quickly I think it was 2 million that I put in. And then like 1 hour later, 2 million was like 2.1, 2 point some. Basically, I made like 130K from that in the space of 1 hour. So I was thinking, if I put in 20 million, if I put in 20 million, this would have been like 1 million, free 1 million naira. That if I even just withdraw it at that very moment, yeah, take it out and everything, I can use it to solve one problem, right? Solve one problem that is there waiting for me to solve without it affecting the money I have. So yeah, which is also why, like I said, I do the stocks thing. It's easy to, but I know the platform has evolved to a point where you can just save now. You can just save without investing. Yeah, yeah. So it wasn't there when I started. I think it's this when I did this and I realized, oh, you can even just leave. I don't go there a lot, especially when I started bleeding. When the stock market crashed and so I stopped, going as often as possible. But yeah, the money there is looking good and we thank God it's rising.